just make people more aware, more educated, and perhaps be a bit more mindful of the global impact human beings are having on the environment. And it's exhibits like this that can really help achieve this education. Hi everyone, George here, and it's an absolute privilege to be able to bring this video to you from Hagenbeck Tropic Aquarium. This absolute monster of a planted aquarium was set up 8 weeks ago by myself, Volker Jochum and Stefan Hummel from Dennerle. Also a couple of members of staff from the Hagenbeck team helped us out, especially Marion. And this is a 2-month update, so I'm going to take you through the whole aquascape, all of the plants, all of the equipment. I'll try to interview Dr. Guido Westhoff, who is in charge of the whole project, and he can take us through some of the filtration equipment and the technical aspects to the aquarium in the engine room behind the actual scape. And the story behind this, it was an aquascape previously. It was all stripped down, and then they had this new kind of resin, concrete, artificial decor put in. And then Hagenbeck and Dennerle collaborated on this project. It involved me, which I'm absolutely privileged and honoured to be involved. And we all worked really well together to create this, I think you'll agree, epic aquascape. It's got some fish in there now. There's actually a really nice sort of computerized information panel over here for the visitors. I'll just show you that right now. So if you want to find out any more specific information about a species of plant or fish, you can just simply click on it, and there you go. It tells you about the individual species. This is an interesting plant actually. We'll talk about this in more detail when we see it in the aquarium. Very, very new to the hobby. It's actually going to go into production fairly soon at Dennerle, and I love this because it can grow like a nubius, like an epiphyte plant, but it can also grow as a rooted plant like a cryptocoryne. I'll show you it down here. It was actually a bit of a risk planting it into the sand. I wasn't absolutely convinced it would grow very well, but as you can see, it looks absolutely stunning. So this is called Schismatoglottis praetoi, and I think you'll agree, it looks amazing. Look at that rock work, it looks so natural. So the whole concept behind this massive aquascape is to be a biotope style aquarium. We're using all Southeast Asian fish. There are some more going in today, some bigger species, 500 or so. But the whole concept was to educate and inspire the public and just let them know, how kind of fragile these natural habitats are in nature. Educate them and hopefully just make people more aware, more educated, and perhaps be a bit more mindful of the global impact human beings are having on the environment. And it's exhibits like this that can really help achieve this education. So I think they're absolutely vital to have these, and like I said, absolutely honoured to be involved. So let's start over from the right and we'll go through all of the plant species, and then as and when we come across some fish, we can talk about those in more detail as well. So let's start from the bottom right. This is my favourite corner because this is the corner that I scaped. So we have some Bucophalandra species here. This is a Pygmaea species. Then we have some Bucophalandra wavy green. And then moving up, we've got the good old Java ferns. There's a mixture of trident fern and the regular Microsorum terapus, the regular Java fern. We've got some floating plants up here, a mixture of Zoopteris, more ferns, all attached to the wood. This is either tied on or wedged in onto those artificial trunks. Just a bit of a background on the decor. It's actually a British company, Aquarium Technologies, that built this for Hagenbeck, and it looks great. Once it has a little kind of coating of algae on there, it just makes it look more natural. Let's have a look down here. We've got some beautiful Bucovalandra. I love this one with the ruffled leaves. This is called Cryptocorini Catherine. Really, really lovely. And then at the bottom here we've got some Eleocharis acicularis. It looks like it's struggling slightly. It's got like a browny colour, but there is lots of new growth that you can see there. So this is the brown parts are just like the emerged form leaves that are just sort of dying off slowly, and eventually all the healthy new growth will come through. And in several months I anticipate this will be a lot more kind of dense, this carpet. You can just see a cherry barb down there. Can you see that in the centre of the screen? It's so tiny in here. The fish are going to be so happy to have all this space to swim around. They'll grow to their absolute potential, and I can't wait just to see this evolve over the coming months and maybe years. Definitely one to come back to regularly. I have to thank the team here for inviting me along again in Dennerle. So actually we have used a mixture of the artificial decor, and then we've actually used some natural decor as well. As you can see, this huge piece of bogwood here. This has got some Hygrophila pinnatifida attached to it, and it's starting to take on this beautiful kind of burgundy colour, which it will do as it gets more lighting. And then lots more microsorums. Real theme of the Java ferns here, which, as most of you know by now, is one of my favourite plants of all time. And then let's go down to the bottom here. We have some Cryptocorini compact. This is taking on a really kind of dark leaf colour, which I really like actually. It contrasts beautifully with the sand. And again, the Eleocharis there, going a bit brown, but as I said, that's going to recover. New growth will be nice and green. And then we have this plant that I just mentioned earlier, the Schismatoglottis praetoi. I can see this becoming a real kind of popular plant in the hobby just because of its adaptability to be able to grow on decor as an epiphyte plant or in the substrate as a root feeder. Really versatile, slow grower, adapt easy, doesn't need much light, so I can see this becoming a firm favourite of mine at least anyway. Moving up, we've got some more Schismatoglottis there in the centre, more Java ferns. And then as we move over to the left, in the background you might just be able to see some Cryptocorini balansae or Crispitula. And then as we go up, we've got like this overhang with some wood and some more Java ferns attached, creating a really nice sort of shade area. So the use of light and shade in this scape is really effective, I think. And then moving over to the left in the centre now, you can see some Lagonendra Meboldii red. As this gets more mature and they run more, potentially they run more lighting, they're only running kind of half lighting at the moment, this might turn a more of a red, dark red, brown colour. And then moving over to the left, you can see they've used some catappa leaves as well, just to add this sense of nature. Some more Schismatoglottis in front of the Lagonendra. And just check out this, I really like this section of the scape with the overhanging wood. Really adds a sense of depth. This is like a focal point there, and then your eye gets drawn over to the background and it just looks really great. This was Volker Jocham's idea, so got to give credit to Dennerle's full-time scaper Volker for thinking of this idea. And then you can see just how beautiful that Hygrophila pinnatifida is looking there. It's nearer the light source, so it's going this nice red colour. Okay, let's go back down again. So, fun fact, funny story, yesterday I was actually inside the aquarium. I'll overlay some images of that now for you, some video footage of that, of me actually de-brown leaving some of the Java fern leaves. So as you can see, some of the leaves are struggling slightly. So the Java ferns were brought in from Dennerle in their emerged state, which means they've been growing out of water. And what happens is as these adjust to their underwater form, you can get some die off. The leaves turn brown, and actually they're very, very easy to remove. You just pinch them off at the rhizome, you just remove those brown leaves, and then this allows new growth to come through. Here we've got a nice little area for the Cryptocorini balansae. Love this rock. We used about a ton of stones in here. Really like the texture. I think it's normally used in landscape gardening, this type of rock, but it looks really effective. And I think what I really love about this scape is the naturalistic elements. So we've got a really fine texture of the regular kind of sand, and then we've got the graded gravel of the Dennerle Rio Zingu, and then leading up to the wood and the stones. The stones with the sand and the gravel, they all kind of match each other, harmonise each other in terms of their colours and textures. And this all added together just gives this appearance of something really beautiful and natural. You know, it's not like necessarily a super high impact aquascape, like something like you'd see, you know, a good example is the Floresta Submersas aquascape created by Amano, which is obviously a masterpiece. But, you know, this is a different kind of concept. This is designed to mimic more of a natural biotope rather than being a work of art. Although you could argue that this is also a work of art, of course. Here we have a nice wood feature here, and actually what the guys have done is attached smaller pieces of wood around the larger piece to create this really natural element, some more visual interest. You might just be able to see that Amano shrimp there. Really interesting to see how the Amano shrimp behave in this aquarium. Because it's so large, relatively free from predators, you're seeing the Amano shrimp swimming around freely, which looks really fascinating. It's something that we don't often see in our home aquariums. More Java ferns, and then at the bottom there some more Schismatoglottis, and then there's beautiful root structure up to the left, leading up to some more. This is Microsorum petite, so this is like a dwarf version, a smaller compact version of the regular Java fern. So I'll just walk backwards now, and hopefully you'll get a sense of just how big this tank is. And what I might do is just ask Stefan to walk up to the aquarium, just to look into the aquarium so you can get a sense of scale and actually get an idea what a monster we're dealing with right now. So for those that don't know, Stefan Hummel, he is Dennerle's planter hunter. He's been on many expeditions, a lot of them with Chris Lukaup, who's Dennerle's shrimp king. And these guys have the awesome job of visiting the wild habitats, discovering new species of plants and shrimp and crustaceans, and using Stefan's experience in these kind of habitats. He's transferred this into a design for the aquascape, and now it's been, I think, almost perfectly executed in this masterpiece. So can't tell you how privileged I am to be involved with this project and to be hosted by these guys. Really cool people, all absolutely passionate about what they do, and that comes across in the quality of the exhibits. Not just this one, but any of the aquariums. They're all looking amazing, all super well maintained. Livestock are super healthy, and I think this is just so important to help really give the public the best level of education and inspiration. And this is, you know, what the guys are doing here, I think is so important on a real kind of deep level, in fact. So let's try and get some close-ups of some fish. I mean, they're so small in such a large aquarium, it's going to be tricky to get any. So we've got some Espei rasboras here. These are like the harlequin rasboras. Ideally they'd be shoaling together, but because they're not perceiving any threat, there's no real predators in here, they've got no kind of instinct to shoal so tightly, because, you know, a reason behind the fish schooling is a defensive thing. So actually they're quite happy just swimming around, minding their own business. What else do we have here? Some Leapord Danios there, just this. Excuse me, you probably can't really see much detail, I'm afraid, I do apologise. Some panchax as well. There's a few different species of kind of, there's a Bumblebee goby there, just swimming over there. Can we see that? Oh, so small. Yeah, I don't know if you can see that Bumblebee goby in the top right of the screen right now, swimming in front of the root structure. I wanted to talk about the topic of really small fish in a large aquarium. One of the big questions we got asked by the press, we just had a press day, why aren't the fish bigger? Well, actually they grow a lot bigger than they are now, but I just think it's really beautiful to see tiny fish in a massive aquarium. They're going to reach their potential, they're going to be super happy in there, and actually it's not really about the fish, it's about educating people about biotopes and this sort of connection with nature. So for me personally, I really love the small fish. What do you think? Let me know in the comments. So this is Dr. Guido Westhoff. He is the head of the aquarium, basically. He's in charge of all of the aquariums here, and actually quite a well-known guy in the reptile kind of hobby, and really super passionate about aquariums obviously as well, super knowledgeable. So he's going to show us now the filtration area, the CO2, and talk about some of the technical elements of how this amazing aquarium works. So here we are at the back of the aquarium, then I think we'll talk about the lighting.
So here we have the LED lights, which have 8000 K of the white lights, and there are also red lights and blue lights on top of them. They have 150 watts each, and altogether we have 17 of these lights. We started for the first 6 weeks with just 5 lights because we didn't want to have too much light on the plants, and now we are up to 8 lights on, and we are only on from 9 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening until the aquarium closes. And we will enhance the lighting over the months when the plants grow further. And we're quite pleased with the LED, but the biggest problem with all these lamps is about the cooling. So this is the 4th or 5th generation of LED we try over these tanks. The plants like the LED, but the LED themselves, they're still beyond being perfect in technical engineering.
So next, Dr. Guido is going to take us through the filtration.
So this is a 2 cubic volume Hamburg mattress filter. It's basically just having these mattresses, which I can pull out one. So this is the first one, the water's coming in here, and this is a very broad one, so it's not that fine. And then at the end here we have finer mattresses, like, oops, they're really heavy, like this one. So this is a biofilter and of course a mechanical filter for the filtration. And we can take out these bit by bit, so in sections we clean them, and of course not all together because otherwise we would destroy the bacteria. And from here we're going into the CO2. So there's a circuit that is sucking up CO2. This is our CO2 reactor back here, this one. There's an injection of CO2 in it, and now we had heard a click. This is because the pH is measured, and once the pH is below 7, then they open the valve, the magnetic valve, so CO2 is injected in the injector and then it's going into the tank. So this is a titanium cooling device where the cool liquid from the climate machines is coming off and exchange its coolness to the water which is flowing through, and with this valve we can precisely cool down the tank to 23 degrees. It used to be 28 degrees, and now with the new livestock we just start with a cooler temperature, and we will raise maybe later on, once the tank really started going, we might raise the temperature a little bit. Yeah, we are quite happy that this system works so well, and we are measuring how much energy we need right now to cool the tank. So this is the Genesis fleece filter for 30,000 liters per hour. This is a very, very wonderful filter to make a little bit more, to clean up the water a little bit more. So you have a roll of fleece here that is going around a drum, and the water from the tank is going inside the drum, which you can see here at the bottom, and through this drum via the fleece the water is going out, and all the dirt sticks in this fleece, And the more dirt there is, the finer is the filtration, up to 100 microns. And once the fleece is so dirty that the water level is rising, then it flows over and will turn a wheel, like a water wheel, to make the drum filled up with new fleece. So there's no electricity, nothing else. It's just the dirt that is constantly having the fleece filter in a steady level. And this is really, really a very good filter, because you have to keep in mind we have a depth from the screen up to the back at 4 meters. So for the visitor, the viewing experience of all the little particles in the water is totally different, because they all add up, and many times I hear, oh, it's not that clear as my tank at home, but they forget that at home they might have just 60 centimeters from the front screen to the back. So we have to have much clearer vision here.
I'm with Dr. Guido Westhoff right now, and I'm going to ask him a few questions about the tank, some of the challenges, and give you guys a bit of an insight into what it's like to actually run such a huge tank. So just going back to basics, Guido, what size is the aquarium?
28 cubic.
28 cubic meters?
Yes.
Yeah, so that's 28,000 litres, which is around 7,500 US gallons for our American friends. And we talked about the filtration earlier, but what kind of flow rates are we talking about?
Well, we have 30,000 liters going through the full filtration per hour, and all the water has to go through the skimmers, which you can see on the surface. And one of the problems is that, of course, with such a big tank, you always have some leaves that clog the skimmers, which then raise the water level a little bit of the tank, because we have seen the filtration as 2 cubic alone. So then from this filtration, of course, the water is getting into the tank. And so this is one of the challenges. You really have to constantly cleaning the skimmers.
Yeah. And we can see some of the fish, but we do plan to add some more fish, don't we? Some bigger fish, maybe?
Yes, I'm really fond of the mascara barb, which is not so often seen in aquaria right now, but it's Darkinsia assimilis, a really beautiful animal, and I would love to have them in here, but I couldn't get it by now, but it's on order. Mm-hmm. And also, well, I'm missing some English names for these glass fish.
Oh, the glass catfish?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, beautiful.
So they're coming in, but overall I don't want to get further than 10, 11 species of fish entirely. I rather like schools of fish than a mixture of many, many species. But of course I have to have some species on the ground, in the middle, on the surface. And with these 10, 11 species, I'm quite good there already. One of the challenges, of course, is how do you clean this tank, and this is, of course, by diving. We have a water level of 2 meters here, and diving is meant that the animal keepers really have to breathe pressurized air in order to work here 1 or 2 hours on the bottom of the tank, and this is also a challenge in terms of time, because then you always need a dive officer and all these challenges, which you don't have in smaller tanks, of course. Another thing is with the LED lighting and acrylics. Acrylics are great panels, but with LED lighting you have to be very careful that no LED is falling onto the acrylics, because otherwise you have a rainbow shimmering thing on the acrylic because of all the tiny little scratches. And HQI lights, which we had before, is much less prone to this.
How did the original concept come along with Dennerle? How was that? What inspired you to use Dennerle? What was the story there?
Well, from the beginning of the build of the Tropen aquarium, which is 12 years ago now, Dennerle was supporting us with their knowledge and also with their plans, also for the Amazon tank for the last 10, 11 years now. And so we had a very, very tight cooperation. And I always wanted to make this an aquascaping event with these plant experts, because of course I was very jealous to Lisbon, where the Amano tank was going. Yeah. And this was such a success in European public aquaria that I thought we could do it on a smaller scale with the largest tank for not Europe but just Germany. So I asked Dennerle if they would love to be involved, and they said yes, and I was so pleased that Stefan Hummel, the planter hunter, was one of the persons to be involved, and then he got you over, George, which is a big honor for us to have you in this story, and also Volker Jochum, and this was the best team I could expect here, together of course with Marian, my very passionate aquarist.
Thank you very much. That's great, thanks.
Okay guys, there you go, the largest planted tank in Germany. What a monster, 28,000 litres or 7,500 gallons. Like I said a few times already, absolute privilege and honour to be involved with this project. Thanks so much to the team here for making me feel so welcome, and thanks to Dennerle for inviting me along. Really hope you enjoyed watching the whole process, learning about the equipment behind the scenes. Hopefully you've seen the build video as well, and I'm hoping to come back on a regular basis to film more updates. I have filmed a cinematic special as well with my bigger camera. This was all done on my iPhone. So you can look forward to that in a few days as well. So some food for thought. What do you think about the fish choice? A lot of you may have preferred to see something bigger, but for me personally, I love to see these tiny fish in a huge tank. I just think it looks so natural. The fish are going to be so comfortable in there, grow to their potential. And actually, for me, this isn't an exercise in having the most high impact, attractive fish tank. It's an exercise in hopefully educating the public into natural habitats, where the fish come from, and the attention should be paid to the whole aquascape and the whole concept behind the aquascape, not just the fish. So let me know what you think, and what fish would you put in there. You take care, keep on scaping. Cheerio.